What's going on, people? What is going on here, man? We got the heavy hitters live coming to you a little bit later than normal. Hey man, it's your boy Six Man K Styles, the hostess with the mostest. With my brothers over here, we got Mad Mike Sports, aka Senator Palpatine, to my stage right. We got the minister, Jew Talk Sports in the building. We have the Summer Hill Nightmare, yo, residential food critic. The Don's in the building.
It's showtime, folks.
And we have a special guest, man. David, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
I appreciate you guys. David Harrison, one of the hosts of Locked On Bucs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, also a staff writer for BucsGameDay.com, the Sports Illustrated fan nation site covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right. So y'all make sure, y'all, like I said, y'all make sure y'all show my man over here some love. Make sure you show everybody that's in the chat some love, y'all. And
I got a question for David real quick. Anybody tell you look like that character from Grand Theft Auto?
No, I can't say.
Okay, all right.
We always got some references.
You don't have
going
a
on.
Harley, a motorcycle, or something?
Oh no, not the lost.
Okay.
Not the lost in the dam. Man, come on now.
He may have been the voice actor for, I don't know. We may have a legend on here. I don't know. You gotta ask questions these days.
Coming from the Lotto Sports brand, he is a legend over here, man. So hey, man, we about to have some fun today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and get right into it, man. We don't have no special introduction, no intro today. Like I said, we appreciate everybody in the chat. Robert Ponda, Joseph Thornton, Tony Hall, ATL Leo, Andrew G, Engine number 9, Big Ant, Brian Peoples, Michael Walker, Sonia Howe, Christy Lewis, and Southside 12. So we got Falcons, Buccaneers 2. David, go ahead and give the people your thoughts so far of this season, and well, how do you feel about this matchup, man?
Yeah, I mean, for the Buccaneers so far, it's kind of been a mixed bag, and we're looking for Todd Bowles to kind of revitalize the defense after last season. It was a little bit of a disappointment on both sides of the ball, but Todd Bowles being the defensive mind that he is, and experienced defensive coordinator that he is, we're kind of expecting a little bit of an uptick and the excitement of a first round draft pick, and Kalijah Kancey joining the roster certainly added to that excitement. But with some injuries and some other things that have kind of faltered, the Buccaneers haven't been able to develop and deliver on some of that excitement. And maybe some of that was a little bit overblown. I mean, I think the NFC South just in general is kind of going through a dip in production. But if you were to tell the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans and even the media and the team themselves, I'm sure that the New Orleans Saints would be in the situation they were in, then people would be pretty happy thinking that the Buccaneers are probably firmly in control of the NFC South, because a lot of people were sleeping on the Atlanta Falcons, which I think most of that was on the offensive side of the ball. I think when you look at the defense, the pieces they already had, and then the pieces that they add into it, I think you have to respect that defense for the playmakers that they have. But on the offensive side of things, people just kind of, Desmond Ridder has not been able to really solidify himself as a legitimate long-term starting quarterback in the NFL. And then the questions about whether or not Kyle Pitts was going to get used any better than he has been, Drake London's development or lack thereof, and then how much it looked like Atlanta was really going to lean on the running game in what is known as a passing league. But to their credit, they've been able to really, I think, surprise a lot of people. Hopefully not themselves. I think hopefully they saw this in themselves. And, they're the ones that are in control of the NFC South. And if they can beat the Buccaneers this weekend, then, they've got a fairly short road left to secure that title. And we'll see if they can pull it off.
But hey, man, y'all want to go ahead and follow that up? Y'all want to start giving your keys?
I want to follow that up. Who said the Saints? The Saints are not that good right now.
No.
And they have a veteran quarterback, and in my opinion, is far worse than Desmond Ridder. If we all can agree to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming into it, a lot of people looked at the Saints' defense was going to have to carry all the weight, but then you look at that veteran quarterback, and I think more so than anything, you're just looking at the experience and some of the history outside of Josh McDaniels' experience in Las Vegas and what he was able to do when he actually had some weapons. And if you're getting Michael Thomas back with Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, pending the suspension and all those things, I think you looked at the Saints just having enough to really kind of compete and maybe take the top spot in the NFC South. But to your credit, or like you just said, like Derek Carr has not been anywhere near the best version of himself. And then they've had some injuries as well. And they've had some players not really produce the way that they thought they would. And that's why you play the games. That's why predictions are only predictions for preseason. Once you get on the field, that's when it really matters. And like you just said, the Falcons have definitely proven themselves so far to be, I don't know if any team in the NFC South will call themselves a complete team at this time, but the Falcons have proven themselves to be the closest to it, I think, out of the 4 teams representing the division.
We talked about controversial on our show yesterday. I think Derek Carr is also in that category of most controversial player because that man finessed the mess out of the Saints organization. By the way, he been playing this year. Man.
I have a question. Well, we like to think when we've made a declaration for the most part that quarterback play around the league is pretty much, in my opinion, and guys, you can kind of speak on this yourself, but I think it's probably as bad as it's been in over 10 years as far as just from the top to the bottom. Like we've seen horrible, even from the great Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. These guys are struggling. So would you agree to the quarterback play around the league? Do you agree with that assessment that quarterback play around the league is just at an all-time low?
Yeah,
and
I mean,
why?
hands down. I think that, I don't know about all-time low, but certainly in recent memory, I think the quarterback play has certainly dipped a little bit. And some of that you have to give credit to some of these defenses. And I think it's kind of just part of the ebb and flow of the game. If you go back to like when I was younger, watching football, like the running game was all the rage, and it was all about the running backs, and the running backs were the most famous players on the field for a lot of teams outside of, maybe your Dallas Cowboys and stuff like that in the mid-90s. And defenses were bigger. They weren't as fast. They were a lot stronger. They were much better at plugging the hole. And so teams try to get a little bit creative with their running games. And I still remember a day where reverses were considered a trick play. Now reverse is just kind of a natural part of the offense, and eventually everything kind of shifted and moved down. And obviously the league wants to make the game more exciting and keep it exciting. That's how it sells tickets and makes highlight reels and all that stuff. So you've had this shift into protecting quarterbacks, protecting, defenseless receivers. And I think part of it has diluted, I'll say for lack of a better term, kind of diluted the necessity for quarterbacks to really be kind of on top of their game 24/7. And Tom Brady kind of referenced this recently. He's actually said this plenty of times in the past, but most recently this season, it got a lot of traction for a period of time where he said that, the way the rules are, they really forgive offensive players for making really bad mistakes. It used to be that if you were a quarterback throwing the ball over the middle and you're leading your receiver into contact with a guy like Steve Atwater or Ronnie Lott, that your receiver a lot of times with alligator arm, I'm not going after that ball, dude. You're going to put me in harm's way because this dude's going to clean me. But nowadays, receivers will go in there, and sometimes you can see receivers go into the middle of the field looking for that contact, looking to draw a flag instead of really make a play on the ball. And I think that's kind of what Tom Brady has been talking about. But for quarterbacks, it allows them to be a little bit more risky. It allows them to put the ball in some places that maybe they shouldn't. And it also leads to some of those plays and some of those penalties. But as defenses get smarter about it, and as officials get smarter about some of the tricks that offensive players will try to leverage to get them to throw flags, those flags don't come out, but the pass is still ugly and the ball falls incomplete. And so now you have a little bit of a shift in the dynamic. And I think that's part of the reason you're seeing what you're seeing in today's game.
It sounds like everything that you just stated just sounds like you're talking about Michael Evans. Like that dude is yeah.
Mike has look, Mike's got a clean push off. You know what I mean? Like he's got
we know. Just like AJ Terrell. Okay?
He's got it pretty clean.
Yeah. Hey, I'm about to say
They tried it with us, boy. They tried it.
Yeah, I'm about to say I want to save Mike Evans' topic for the end of the show for after we get to these keys. But I will go ahead, Jew man. Let's go ahead and get to these keys of victory, man. Let you go ahead and run point on this one. What you got as a key of victory? Then I'm gonna let David go right after you.
All right, man. Y'all know how I do it when we come to the keys to victory. In this game, it's gonna be about the offensive line in this game. To be honest with you guys, the Buccaneers, I know they've had some injuries last week. Their linebackers were out. I don't know if they'll be out in this game. But he talked about Elijah Cansey. He talked about the defensive line. And just to be honest, Todd Bowles, as y'all head coach, he's a defensive minded guy. So I really think it's going to come down to the trenches. It's going to come down to those guys up front. I don't know if Caleb McGarry will play in this game. So I think that could be key. So the way that you protect your offensive line in this game, because you know Todd Bowles will bring pressure, is going to be running the football and protecting Desmond Ritter, protecting those guys, and preventing the turnovers. So I'll say in this game, it's going to be our offensive line. Those five guys up front. If Storm has to play in this game at that right tackle position, that's something I'm watching closely. And I hope that they protect him in this game by just running the football. Of course, you're going to have to open it up a little bit, play actions, quick passes here and there. But I really feel like in this game, whoever wins the trenches, I always say that, is going to win this game. And on the offensive line, I really think that's key because Dahlman also has an ankle injury. So that's two of our offensive linemen. And for whatever reason this year, I don't know what our guys been doing in the weight room and stuff like that, but we've stayed healthy pretty much on the offensive line all season. So this is the first game where you kind of mixing and matching guys, and we know chemistry is key up front. So I really feel like that's going to be the key to this game for the Falcons is we got to stick with the running game. We got to keep the guys that are the backups out of harm's way. So in this game, if Dahlman's not able to go, if our right tackle Caleb McGarry is not in there, we're gonna have to, run the ball. Don't allow the Buccaneers to pin their ears back. So you want to stay ahead of the chains, and the way you do that is getting positive yardage on first and second down. You don't want to get into those third and long situations because we know Winfield is a guy who will pick the ball off. He's a guy that's very opportunistic, and we know those guys will bring pressure. So we want to stay out of those third and long situations. So I say the offensive line is my key to victory for this team because I think that, because we're nicked up, I'm not sure if McGarry will be able to go in this game. He said that Dahlman may be able to go, but at that right tackle position, they got some guys over there that can sack Barrett, those guys coming off the edge. Seeing a backup out there, they licking their chops. So so in this game, I'm gonna lean on the offensive line in this game. That's gonna be my key.
All right, David, what you got, man? What's your key to victory for Tampa winning this game?
I think for the Buccaneers to come away with the win this one, you got to force the ball in Desmond Ritter's hands, and you do that two ways. Obviously, you got to stop the Falcons' run, right? If you're forcing them, like you were just saying, if you're forcing them into third and longs, second and longs, they're going to have to throw the ball, and that's really where you want them. But they also have to guard against these outbreaking routes and these really any type of breaking routes. To be quite honest with you, Desmond Ridder, for whatever reason, is in love with horizontal routes. He doesn't really like throwing verticals until he's forced to, which is usually in the red zone or on third and longs. And because of the lack of protection sometimes that the Atlanta Falcons have, if Todd Bowles can dial up some blitzes and get some pressure early on, you don't have to worry a whole lot about double moves, things like that. It really allows you to play strong at the break point of the route after coming off the stem. And that's where I think, like you mentioned, Antoine Winfield Jr. can take advantage and potentially get an interception. Any of these defensive backs can potentially try to come away with a takeaway. The thing about playing Desmond Ridder is he's pretty good for the most part of offering up about 3 plays a game that are going to be turnover worthy plays. If the Buccaneers can turn at least one of those, obviously you would love to turn, say, 3 of those into takeaways. But if you can at least turn one of those into a takeaway, that gives your team a little bit of an advantage. And then the other way is by scoring points. In order for you to do that against this Falcons defense, you got to win on first and second down. Everybody loves third down, and you obviously want to be really good on third down. But the Atlanta Falcons have one of the best third down defenses in the NFL because teams don't beat them on first and second down to get to that 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, what have you. So if the Buccaneers can be smart, stay a little bit patient, the Falcons don't get a lot of sacks. They don't get a lot of interceptions per pass attempt. So if you can stay patient, take what they give you on those first and second downs, get 3 yards, come back in a 3rd and 4, or try to get 4 or 5 yards and come back in a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, then you can have higher success on third down, drive the length of the field, put points on the board, stop the run game. That all of that stuff combines to force the ball into Desmond Ritter's hands, which is where you want it if you're the Buccaneers.
Okay, I like that. All right, Don, what you got, man?
Key to this game, man, we got to win the game in the air this week. Tampa Bay, I think they're top 10 in run defense. And I'm pretty sure I'm spot on with that, David. Is that correct?
Usually they are. I can check right now. I actually can tell you. The Buccaneers currently, let me see here. In rush defense are top 10 exactly in yards per play, 3.93 yards per play in the NFL.
So, but y'all pass defense is not that good this year. I'm just going to be real.
Right. That's accurate. Yes.
And which leads me to my key. We have to give the ball, and I'm not going to sit up here and say a specific player like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, because we already know, we look towards them to be the guys, to catch the ball. But this game really going to have to rely on guys like Pruitt, Scotty Miller. You very familiar with Scotty Miller in his days when he played with you guys in Tampa Bay. Van Jefferson, I need to see him get some targets and catches this game too. So if we're going to win, we know our defense is going to show up, but we have to be effective in the pass game this Sunday against the Buccaneers, because they're not going to really allow us to go off and just run 150 yards on the ground.
Look, I hear all that, but the Falcons ran for 156 yards against them. Okay, so let's not pretend that the Buccaneers have the Falcons number as far as their defensive line defense versus our offensive line. This is what it's going to come down to: the offensive line versus defensive line. The front seven against our front five, front seven ourselves. All right, tight end, they're going to have, I think the real key to this game is the tight ends versus their linebackers. All right, if Kyle Pitts has one of those games, he and Jonnu Smith, those guys have one of those games where they are getting open in the middle of the field, like they've said, as far as those vertical routes, it's going to be a long day for the Bucs. All right, they have to cover Kyle Pitts, they have to cover Jonnu, and they have to cover Bijan out of the backfield. But this game is coming down to the offensive line versus defensive line, because the Falcons ran for 156 yards against these guys, and the Atlanta Falcons offense. This is the thing I always say about people. People think this offense is predicated on the tight ends, the running backs. This team goes as the offensive line goes. So if this Falcons offensive line was Caleb McGarry, he may not be able to go. So Stormy Norton is a guy that you're gonna have to focus on. I know they will exploit that position, because that's what Todd Bowles do. He exploits those mismatches in offensive line. But if the Falcons offensive line goes, this team goes. So I'm not worried about Desmond Ridder. He will not allow Desmond Ridder to give this game away. All right, that's just the way he always does, just with his quarterbacks, Arthur Smith. So I'm not concerned. I think it just comes down to the offensive line versus their defensive line. Who's going to get the best?
All right. Yeah, so I kind of agree with everybody here. It is definitely going to come down to whoever could control the line of scrimmage. Like you said, this is round 2, so Tampa Bay is looking for some get back from the first matchup. So they're definitely going to come in with a different type of energy. Like you said, Falcons coming in on a 2-game win streak, they have to keep the momentum up. And that will be just the key. Can the Falcons withstand the first blows that Tampa Bay gives them? And that's going to really pretty much determine this whole game. There's a couple comments in here that we're going to go ahead and read on right quick. Like I said, Chris Lewis says, much love from Mississippi. Appreciate you, Christy. King Quest said, when is Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore going to have that boxing match?
My money's on Mike Evans.
Why you say, why you say that? Why you say that?
Ohio State guys are just weak, man.
Man, look, we know guys that like to wrestle. They can't box, man. Look, we know that. Like, let's keep that real. Most guys that love to body slam and box people, and push people, they can't fight with the crowd. All right.
Okay.
You know that because
Now we know Marshawn that he gonna do is run behind him. Never mind.
Run behind the apron. Yeah. We know. That's what he gonna do. And David, I got a quick question for you. And this kind of goes to this comment. It said Mayfield has a 4-game IT streak. So do you think Baker Mayfield's going to have to be clean here? For the best chance for them to win here this week.
I mean, yeah, that'd be great, right? You mentioned before the Buccaneers struggles against the Atlanta Falcons the last time, all the rushing yards they gave up, especially against Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson has been a nightmare for the Buccaneers since he got to the NFC South, and that's certainly something that stands out. But also Baker Mayfield, not only did he throw an interception the last time these two teams played, but he fumbled the ball. That one wasn't lost. They did lose another one later on in the game. But Baker Mayfield's play just has not been consistently clean, and especially from your viewer there, the last 4 games has been exceptionally unclean, and some of that's led to turnovers, but some of it's just led to really bad passes and inaccuracies and things like that. And it's something that obviously, if you're a Buccaneers fan, you want to see him get it cleaned up because you play a team like the Atlanta Falcons, and it's weird because I feel like every team in the NFC South, except for the Carolina Panthers, feels like their team has the best talents on the roster. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you think your roster is superior. It matters if you play better. And the Atlanta Falcons have come on top of both of their, both of the top 2 contenders in the NFC South compared to them. And it's some of that sloppy play that's got to get cleaned up. So if Baker Mayfield, the comment is 100% right. Baker Mayfield could completely go out there and completely offset anything that Desmond Ridder may or may not do to hurt the Falcons.
And kind of going off of that passing game, and I was saying I was gonna say for the end of the show, I like, let me go ahead and get this right now. I want to know for the whole panel. I was watching some video clips on like the top receivers in this league, and like you say, even though like we talk about Mike Evans pushing off and stuff, he did reach a milestone here recently, like with his 10th consecutive season of over 1,000 yards. Why do y'all think that when they talk about a lot of the top receivers in the league, that his name is really never mentioned, especially for the simple fact that each of those 1,000-yard seasons was with 7 different quarterbacks?
He plays for the freaking Bucs. Let's just keep that real.
But the thing is, he's not a flashy diva type receiver. Like you got the Odell Beckham Jr.'s, you have the Tyreek Hills, you have AB at one point. Like you had all these guys, but like he's not vocal. Like Mike Evans, I ain't never seen Mike Evans as a vocal type flashy receiver like a Julio Jones and all those other guys.
I mean, Julio wasn't really flashy. Julio can barely talk. I don't know if Julio can say his ABCs. Like he never says anything.
But
he just gets on.
He hang out with amigos. So that's
done.
Come on, bro. Let's not we're not gonna do this. Don't done me. You know what I'm talking about. Like I never seen Mike Evans in no video or anything like that. He's a workhorse. He go to work. He clock in, do his job on the field, and clock out.
I mean, he ain't lying on that. And I remember with Julio Jones, man, it was to a point in time I was wondering if he was actually a mute or something.
Mute. That man says nothing. Like that's why, man. It's like I don't think it's that. I just think it just comes down to his playing style, man. Like a lot of guys who are physical. It's like if you look at Megatron, it's like he wasn't a flashy guy. The only reason why he got so much respect is just how, just the numbers that he put up. But like I think it's just who he is and his style of play. A style of play will turn like Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones. Those guys had a different style of play. It's not a pretty style of football. And guys like Bijan Robinson, Antonio Brown, those guys have flashy styles of play. So I think it just comes down to his style of play. That's just more marketable, to be honest.
He just reminds me of a tall Hines Ward. We being real. Like back in the day, Hines Ward played with like the Marvin Harrises, the Keyshawn Johnsons, the Ocho Cincos, and those guys. But Hines Ward name barely came up.
Yeah, I gotta agree with y'all. I agree with y'all. Like, I think Mike Evans' the biggest issue is he plays for the Bucs. Like, if he played for the Cowboys or one of those teams that is one of the marquee franchises, the Green Bay Packers, one of those teams that the everybody focuses on, I think his name would be out there a little bit more. He started to get a little bit more press when he was playing alongside Tom Brady. But like you guys said, for the most part, to start his career off, who was throwing him the football? Like, they really didn't have no marquee quarterback. They had Jameis Winston that everybody would joke about the 30 for 30, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. But, what I respect about him is just the consistency. Like when I think about Mike Evans, I really think about like a Matt Ryan who never really got the credit that he really deserved. He was a lot better than the average fan, would know. And I really feel like he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer just based off of his consistency, his ability not to have that serious injury, knock on wood, because we've seen guys have spurts where they were great, like a Michael Thomas had that one season for the Saints where he was great, and then next thing you know, the injuries kind of derailed his career. So I really feel like it's just him playing with the Bucs. I feel like if he was on any other team that gets that kind of press, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the teams that everybody in the press talk about, the Giants, he would get more press. But I feel like because he's on the Bucs, which is one of the smaller market teams, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. But I have, the utmost respect for him just for the mere fact that I like players that actually go out there and consistently do it at the highest level. And to me, he's one of the great wide receivers. Like when you talk about consistency, you know what you're going to get when you go up with Mike Evans. You got to be on your best behavior because he'll embarrass you.
And what's your thoughts on that, David? Well, why do you agree that, like, why is Mike Evans never really considered as one of the top receivers in the league when he literally puts up the most consistent numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys all really kind of hit it right on the head. Part of it is the market. The fact that the Buccaneers aren't known for having the most dedicated, widest, most loyal fan base in the NFL. Part of that is you live in a vacation town. People literally have choices upon choices upon choices on what they do with their off time and how they spend their expendable cash. So when you're not winning consistently, people choose to do other things like go to the beach or go to the mall right down the road or whatever they want to do. Whereas some of these other cities, they're more attached, their identity is more attached to their teams. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons, music videos and pop culture going all the way back to the 90s and throughout. And, athletes in the Falcons organization become part of the fan identity. The Buccaneers fan base isn't quite like that. You talk about Calvin Johnson, the Detroit Lions. I mean, the Detroit Lions have one of the most fierce and loyal fan bases that the NFL has ever seen, even when they're losing. And then you also look at the contextual aspect of it, right? Calvin Johnson was supposed to be kind of that missing piece to help Matt Stafford get the Detroit Lions over the hump, whereas Mike Evans has always been the guy waiting for the missing pieces to come help him. And when you're a wide receiver, you're a little bit helpless in that conversation. You look at Julio, and you guys are 100% correct. Julio's a very soft-spoken dude, doesn't say a lot of words, but I promise you he knows his ABCs. But he was kind of that piece that was supposed to help elevate Matt Ryan for, even better than what he was already doing with the Falcons. And they had some success together. And so I think contextually you look at it, and then of course they're not flashy. I mean, you look at a guy like Steve Smith Sr. and, it's not like the Carolina Panthers are just out there dominating every single season. They did have that good run. but part of his personality obviously helped him shine through. So I think a mixture of everything you guys said is exactly why Mike Evans is not commonly spoken about as arguably the best receiver in the league, and certainly in his time. I mean, he's on pace. I actually just did the math this week. If he plays the same amount of games that Jerry Rice played, which that's a big if still, but if he can be as healthy as Jerry Rice was, he'll actually surpass Jerry in yards receiving in his career on this pace. And again, there's a lot of what ifs, but that is the pace that he's on. But like you said, he's definitely not getting the kind of love that say Jerry Rice was halfway through his career.
I'm gonna let you slide on that comment about Julio elevating Matt Ryan.
I don't mean like he did elevate there. I'm saying, but Julio was joining a team that was already kind of expected to perform a little bit.
I mean, yeah, that is. I mean, yeah. Yeah, and I think, and like I said, I think that just goes with the allure of what the whole dynamic of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is, where a lot of people think that Julio made Matt, but like you said, they complemented each other, and you kind of seen it, especially when they parted ways, where like you say, even though you said it was later on down their careers, but it's just like now. You got Matt Ryan working with CBS, and now you got Julio Jones. Sure, Julio
selling
Jones.
cars in Alabama. That's what
Selling cars in Alabama.
Selling cars in Alabama.
And I know, David, I know you would know that. Like I said, you've seen Julio Jones in a Tampa uniform last year, and to be honest, some folks forgot he was even on the damn team. Hell, shit, you got Russell Gage over there. Shit, I just found out. Goddamn, I forgot until about a couple of days ago. Like, goddamn, that is Russell Gage.
Yeah. Julio's a good dude. Certainly have a lot of respect for him, and the few times that I've gotten to speak to him, I think he's playing for the Eagles right now, though. I don't think he's selling cars yet.
Yeah, he said, on the sideline.
You say he passing Gatorade.
He's suiting up.
You say he passing Gatorade.
That's not Gatorade on the sideline for them. A.J. Brown and then Devontae Smith.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, fellas, y'all got any more questions for David? Like I said, we're gonna let the people, y'all go ahead and put y'all questions in the chat, and we go ahead and answer them. Well, Mike, Don, G, y'all got any more questions y'all want to ask David?
Yeah, I got a
David,
for, David.
Go ahead.
David, so who will be your X factor heading into this game? Like, what player on offense or defense for the Bucs? If the Bucs were to win this game, who do you think would be like that breakout X factor player for you guys?
I mean, can I say Chris Godwin? Because that's a guy. I mean, I think I would like to think everybody in the NFC South knows who he is, but he's a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of attention from the offense this season, and has been underused to the point of frustration, not just of media members covering the team, but also the fan base who wants to see this offense be a little bit more diverse and be a little bit more explosive. But then also, I don't know if you guys caught wind of this yet or not, but his wife actually took to Instagram because recently Todd Bowles was asked about that lack of usage of Chris Godwin, and Chris has been battling some injuries and things, and Coach Bowles said during the press conference that they were subbing Chris out a lot, and more than a few people have come out with the numbers to show that actually they weren't subbing Chris Godwin out a lot. He was actually on the field for quite a bit of time, at the same amount of time as he was when he was fully healthy. He's just not getting targets, and so his wife actually took to Instagram to call out Coach Bowles and the Buccaneers offense for not getting her husband the ball. And I've been around enough of these guys to have the belief that if it's being said by a spouse in public, it's probably been said at home in private more than a couple of times. So I think Chris is probably pretty frustrated with what's going on in his role in the offense. And again, even though he's a guy that I think a lot of people know about, just because of the lack of usage, I would like to see, or he could see Chris Godwin be a breakout player in this game.
I got a question for you. All right. And I'm gonna be real honest. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant and cocky, but I feel like this is a winnable game for the Falcons this Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
We win. the Saints can call it quits. Y'all, they are not catching up to us to win the division. All right, and then that's gonna put y'all at third place. Do you think the front office is going to kind of scratch their heads about Todd Bowles in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, look, those questions are already being brought up. And if they don't make the playoffs, they don't win the division. That's certainly something you could see come to a head. I mean, the Glazers, were very clear, even with the departure of Tom Brady, even with the salary cap situation, all these things, all these, yeah, buts that you can throw out for why the Buccaneers are not performing to the level that they were the last, 2 or 3 years. They're not interested in rebuilding. They're not interested in reloading, whatever you want to call it. They want to compete. They want to win. They want to win the division, and they want to be in the playoffs on a consistent basis. The Glazer family in general spent a long, long time from when Malcolm Glazer traded for John Gruden, ended up getting a Super Bowl out of that, and then they just hit this streak of just losing football all the way up to a number 1 overall quarterback who couldn't stop throwing the ball to the other team. And you finally pull the moves and get the pieces together to bring Bruce Arians in, bring Tom Brady in, and you get a Super Bowl. They're not interested in returning to the bottom of the division, the bottom of the NFL. So even though the record is a losing record, they absolutely expect to win the division. That's what the Glazers want. That's what they demand. So if they don't get it, especially when the rest of the NFC South is, nobody's really running away with it, so to speak. There's no 10-2 teams or anything like that in this division. The Glazers are going to look at this as a winnable division if you have the right pieces in place. And if they don't win the division, they're going to think they don't have the right pieces in place. And we all know it's a lot easier to replace a coaching staff than it is to replace a roster.
Yeah, but the thing is, y'all won the division last year, and I get it. The division last year is the same as this year. We're being honest. It's not. No one was dominant in this division the past 2 years. But the thing is, y'all don't have y'all record is not that bad if compared to everybody else in the division.
Yep.
Like, I feel like y'all just really need to work on your offensive line and figure out a long-term solution for y'all quarterback situation, because Baker Mayfield ain't it.
No, you're 100% right on that, I think. And you're right. You're 100% right. And the more patient mind would look at it that way and take that strategy. But billionaires aren't always patient people.
Yeah. And I can tell y'all hired Dirk Cutter. Y'all got rid of Lovie Smith after 2 seasons, and then y'all promoted, elevated Dirk Cutter as y'all head coach. That
was 1 season. Lovie got 1 year, and then they were afraid to lose Dirk Cutter to the Jaguars, so they fired Lovie. Yeah, absolutely.
Lord have mercy.
Whoa. Yeah. Like I said, and that kind of grabs the question about when you was talking about having a long-term plan as far as whether if Baker Mayfield is going to be their guy after this season or not. Is I know Tampa Bay Buccaneers are they're wondering about Kyle Trask and is he a guy? Do you think that they should have an opportunity for him either later this season or something for next season?
I mean, he's opportunities. The part of the Buccaneers fan base that is frustrated about Kyle Trask not getting on the field is the part that believes that Kyle Trask hasn't been given the opportunity. But these guys, they work together every day. They prepare together every day. Even the small portion that the media gets to see on the practice field is a very, very small sliver of what they actually do in practices. And then you do have the public, appearances, the preseason games, and some of the opportunities. And at the end of the day, if the organization believed that Kyle Trask could be their starting quarterback moving forward, they wouldn't have brought Baker Mayfield in. When they signed Baker Mayfield, that was pretty much all the sign you need to know what the Buccaneers think of Kyle Trask. And we've seen quarterbacks, not get their shot in one place and go somewhere else and completely ball out. Steve Young is one of those guys that never got his chance with Tampa Bay, went to San Francisco, became a legend. But you look at the Green Bay Packers, for example. The Green Bay Packers had Jordan Love sitting on the bench for a couple of years, and they could have gone out this offseason. They could have signed a guy like Baker Mayfield or gone out and gotten another veteran quarterback, but they believed in Jordan Love long term, or at least they wanted to see what they believed enough to want to see him on the field. And I think that given his development over the season, certainly didn't start great, but his development over the season has kind of proven them correct. So when franchises believe through your meeting work, through your studies, through your practice play, and through your leadership demeanor in the locker room as a quarterback, in your future, they will do that kind of a thing for you. Same thing the Packers did for Aaron Rodgers. It's not just that they're first round picks. The Green Bay Packers, I promise you, if they felt the way that the Buccaneers feel about Kyle Trask, about Jordan Love, they would not have hesitated to go get maybe a Baker Mayfield or somebody else to put in that place. But that's we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I'm not saying Kyle's a bad dude by any means. Again, just like Julio, every interaction I've had with Kyle has been a good one. But there is a reason back there that the Buccaneers aren't confident in what he can do, and I think that's just it's spelled out in the exact way that they've approached the quarterback position with Kyle Trask on the roster.
Okay. We got a couple questions in here in the chat. Corey Gear 5 said, does Mike Allstott get the love by the Buccaneers fan base?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mike Allstott is a beloved member of the Buccaneers. Bucs fans will go to the mat. You know what I mean? If it's about Mike Allstott. So yeah, Mike Allstott's definitely a guy that Buccaneers fans embrace. Worldwide.
Yeah, especially as much of a freight train as he was. Yeah, I think ain't nobody gonna never not have no love for him.
I seen a Monday night game or a Sunday night game that y'all played, and like he was there on a pirate ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he fired the cannon or whatever. But yeah, he gets a lot of love from the fan base down there. But I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because we're talking about quarterbacks and the draft is coming up.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? And be quiet, y'all. Don't say nothing. I just want to pick his brain. What's your thoughts on JJ McCarthy? I know we know about
Oh my God,
we know about Michael Phoenix Jr. We know about Caleb Williams. We know about all these other guys. Yeah. What's your thoughts about JJ McCarthy?
As a Michigan quarterback or as an NFL prospect?
An NFL prospect that could potentially be drafted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think he's got a lot of upside. He's very, very raw. He's got the tools. Like at the end of the day, he's got the tools. He's got the arm. He's got the athleticism, and he looks like he's got the IQ. Obviously, the growth that he has shown from last year to this year is fairly impressive. He's actually shown a much more or a much deeper grasp of the game as a collegiate quarterback. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of collegiate quarterbacks don't really display that much growth over their career because they're not really forced to. You know what I mean? Like outside of, unless you're playing in the SEC, outside of maybe 2 or 3 games a year, you're not really pressed into showing your football IQ and really flashing that on-field intelligence. But JJ has been able to do that. Now he's far from a complete package. You know what I mean? But he reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson in that some of the development that he has had in his collegiate career has not been seen on the field simply because he's not put in situations where you can necessarily display it fully. But if you watch the game, I'm going to say through a scout's lens, and I'm not a scout. You know what I mean? I've talked to some scouts that really remind me that I'm not an NFL scout, but talking to other people who kind of do that, and seeing what they've pointed out in other quarterbacks over the past years and taking that and translating it to quarterbacks coming out this year, JJ certainly has all the upside in the world. It's really going to be a matter of if he goes somewhere that can facilitate his further growth and be patient enough with him to allow him to mature as a quarterback.
That last part you just said made a lot of sense right there. So yeah.
All right, Don. I hope you're not wet over there.
You a Georgia fan? I know you're gonna ride Michigan coattails because you want them to beat Bama, but go ahead.
There you go. Key question here says people in our fan base want us to go back to our old jerseys. What's your thought on the Bucs if they go back to those orange creamsicle jerseys?
Yeah, listen, the Buccaneers throwback uniform is the best throwback uniform in the National Football League for a reason, because it's a throwback. Keep it in history, bring it out once every 3 or 4 years, wear it one weekend, celebrate it, put it back away. and let people miss it. You don't want to wear, you can't wear those things every single weekend. There are teams out there, like some of the Falcons' old uniforms. Like if the Falcons were to go to one of their old uniforms, I wouldn't hate it at all. But no, you can't. No, that's terrible. You can't wear that 17 games a season.
It's a possibility here. Like you said, everybody used to love. No,
it's
no,
not.
no, no,
No,
no. Listen, listen. Because remember, the jerseys that the Chargers got right now were the old throwbacks, and everybody begged for them things so much they'd have made them into the permanent jerseys. But I agree with y'all. Nah, I can't be looking at creamsicle for 8 games out of the damn year. That's why they got rid of all the color rush jerseys in the NFL right now. Ain't nobody trying to see that shit for 6-7 weeks out of the year.
I like looking at creamsicles in the summertime when I go to the stove, getting on creamsicles. Man,
Yep, there you go. Hey, I do. We can't have a show without a summer treat moment.
we can't have a show without Mexican references and food. Hey,
All right, hey man, people out there, man. But go ahead and throw a couple of more of your questions in here, man. Um, like David, you got any questions for anybody on the panel here, man?
I mean, I guess the biggest thing I'm really curious on, this is weird, but so I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I cover the Washington Commanders as well. In fact, the Washington Commanders is actually my main beat. That's the main team that I cover. I live in Virginia, so the Commanders are the team that I'm at practice with every day and at all their games. The Buccaneers I cover as much as I can in person, but for the most part, a lot of that is done remotely. So I say that because Taylor Heineke is obviously a guy that I got to know a little bit when in his time in Washington. So obviously his on-field stuff did not go that great, but what has been the sense among the Falcons fan base as far as Taylor Heineke's presence just as a teammate in the locker room?
Jew? I think Jew is probably first.
yeah, that's what I'm about to say too. Let you go on to talk on this. We'll be quiet on this.
That's funny that that they all said that. I knew they were gonna say that, but so I'm actually from Virginia, so it's funny. I actually live in Orlando, Florida now, but my wife actually went to the same university as Taylor Heineke, Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about Taylor Heineke, and the first thing is don't ever put him at the starting position ever again. No disrespect to Taylor Heineke. He's a good guy, great guy, great kid,
Yeah.
a very humble guy. But I thought Arthur Smith was out his mind for trying to put him in at the starting role. I think he's a great backup. He's a great he was one of those guys that you want as the backup quarterback, because even when he was placed at the starting role, he still allowed Desmond Ridder to run the meetings. He didn't step on any toes, but he is one of those guys that can get on hot streaks. Like I watched pretty much his whole career, college, NFL, when he was with the Commanders. And like I said, he's one of those guys where if you need somebody to come off the bench and give you a spark, he's a guy that can give you that spark but he's kind of like a guy where it's like when you need him to do something, like he's the starter, he'll let you down because that's not what he's there for. He's a guy, like I said, that you bring him in when the team is not prepared for him, and then he can do some things for you. But I feel like Arthur Smith kind of overstepped trying to put him in at that starting role. And I really feel like I didn't blame Taylor Heineke because he was put in a awkward situation, but I think he handled it perfectly. And the coaching staff basically talked about that. Dave Ragone talked about our quarterbacks coach / offensive coordinator. He talked about that room was like great. Those guys it wasn't a toxic type situation between him and Desmond Ridder. And they both supported each other when he was in there. Like I said, he did the best he could with the situation that he was put in. But I felt like he was put in an awkward position because he's a veteran guy, but he didn't really get any of those snaps, like I said, with the starters. So the chemistry wasn't there. So I really feel like he didn't give it a fair opportunity, to be honest. When I was saying don't put him back in the starting role ever again, it's just I don't look at him as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's just a guy that can give you at times like that. I said that spark. If somebody goes, gets injured, tweaks an ankle, he'll give you 2-3 good games, but then he'll have those 3 or 4 bad games as well, which we've seen when he was in Washington, where he's like the Ryan Fitzpatrick. He has those hot moments, and then he'll go on a streak where he'll throw a bunch of pick sixes or interceptions. But I like him just personally as a person. I think that he's a great person, a very humble guy, but he's an underdog. And I always like guys that are underdog stories because I didn't think, seeing him play in college, I didn't think he would be a guy that would even get a shot in the NFL. But I remember seeing him playing that game against Tampa where he almost upset them in that wild card game. So he was one of those guys where, like I said, he'll get hot and he'll make everybody believe, because in that game, I thought that they were going to pull off the upset. And that was actually the year that the Tampa actually won the Super Bowl. So he's one of those games he's one of those kids that's a fighter. He talked about Brett Favre being his favorite player, one of those guys that's just a gunslinger. And that's the mentality that he plays with, because every time he steps on the field, he don't know when it's going to be his last chance because nobody expected him to be in the league. So I think he's a great guy. But as far as his skill set, he's just a journeyman backup. That's what I look at him as.
Yeah, man. I mean, hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what we all say about him here. But we love the dude. I mean, honestly, when he left Washington last year, like it was still up in the air on whether or not they were going to offer him another contract and try to bring him back. But the vibe was there, and on locker clean out day, like you just got to tell. You know what I mean? Like it was just one of those things you just kind of tell it was over. And all of us, every single media member, we walked out there and said, man, like if he can't be here again, we hope he gets to Atlanta, where he's from. All those things, or we hope he can get to Green Bay and play for Brett Favre, the Packers that him and his dad grew up cheering for, because Flowery Branch is his hometown. Green Bay is the team that he grew up cheering for with his dad. So when he signed with Atlanta, like the fact that he gets to wear that number with the Atlanta Falcons, Flowery Branch, right across the street almost from where he was sleeping on his sister's couch not that long ago. It's a really cool story for him. So we're really happy for him. But yeah, man, I mean, we look, everybody's limited, right? Everybody does what they do well, and everybody's limited in some of the stuff they do. But I don't know if you guys know this, but Taylor Heineke actually almost became a coach at one point before all this stuff happened. And so, I mean, he may look to coach again when his time is up in the NFL. And if he's home, who knows? You guys may get more Taylor Heineke than you would know of. But again, he won't step on the field. He'll be on the sideline where he belongs.
Man, and then like you said, and kind of going off what you were saying about Tyler Heineke, and I think with him and the journey that he's been on as far as the NFL, like you said, is being that guy who was kind of the underdog, then had to go through the XFL and then have to come back and wait his opportunity. Like you said, he is pretty much one of those guys that a lot of young quarterbacks can get mentored from, because he's seen it through not from the lens of being the first round pick and having everything handed to you, but being it from the guy that had to literally fight for his career. And like you said, Ryan Fitzpatrick, that was the comparison that I was just exactly going to say right there. Like you said, a couple games here, a couple of games there, but like you said, he is a great mentor for the young quarterbacks. And hey, like you said, would we be saying if Taylor Heineke was still going to be the starter if the couple games that they played in were the games that they actually won? But like you said, hey, that's water under the bridge now. So, hey.
I got a question. So you say you live in the DC area. How far are you from DC?
Are you freaking eating?
Don't worry about that. I'm asking him a question.
Oh my God.
How far are you from DC?
Yeah, so I don't live in the DC area. I don't live in the DMV. I'm about 2 hours away from Washington D.C. Depending on traffic, hour and a half, give or take.
Okay, so but you've been to D.C. like several times.
Oh yeah. I venture to the DMV, to the DC area all the time, but I don't live there. That's a very important distinction to make.
Right. So another question is: Have you been to a carry out place?
Have I been where?
Carry out.
No, I have not.
You never tried the mumbo sauce before?
Oh, I mean, look, I've had mumbo sauce, but listen, I work in the DMV. I work in the DC area. So, I mean, look, we get fed. You know what I mean? Like I don't really have to go eat because, if I'm covering a Wizards game, there's food there. If I'm covering a Commanders game, there's it's not great food, but there's food there. So I take advantage of the perks of the job. So I don't really eat a lot in the DC area because of that fact. But I have had mumbo sauce. I haven't had that specifically though.
All right, mumbo sauce is really good, man.
Yeah, if it's done right, it is. McDonald's, I don't know what they were doing, but if it's done right, it absolutely is. Yeah,
I don't know. I tried the one from McDonald's. I'm like, yeah, this ain't the same. I've been to DC like over 10 years ago, I believe, and I tried it. I haven't been back, but you can order mumbo sauce online and it get it shipped to you. So I had
ladies and gentlemen, this man has eaten in all 50 states. I'm telling you.
Look, hey, listen, I will tell you right now, I have not met a sports media personality, broadcaster, writer, combination, nothing. We are all just fat former athletes or wannabe athletes talking about sports. Like, so I mean, you would fit right in with any media circle that I have been in. You would fit right in with us. So don't even, like going to Dallas for Thanksgiving to cover the Commanders Cowboys game. We all legitimately looked at it as we're going to Jerry's World to have Thanksgiving, and they're doing us a favor and putting on a football game in the meantime. So, like we're all foodies there. So don't worry about it.
Thank you. You made me feel my confidence is.
Your confidence always been high. I don't know what the hell you talk about with some damn confidence.
Like seriously.
That made me feel insecure about myself.
Man, what the hell ever, boy? Ain't nobody gonna stop you. Shoot, hey, we getting information here, man. We might be starting a heavy hitters food tour.
Food channel.
You don't know.
There are legitimate. Like, I'm not even joking. We rank press box food. Like I'm not even joking.
Oh wow.
Okay. On y'all crew, man. I was literally.
He definitely needs to be a part of that.
Yeah, he wants somebody to front the bill for him. That's why. Let's be honest with that.
I pay for it myself. I ain't looking for no free food. I pay for it myself. I'll be like Keith Lee. I'll be honest.
Oh, we know that.
Yeah, we definitely got that coming. I can promise you that.
But yeah, let y'all know the Heavy Hitters Live, a diner drive-in and dive series will be coming out in the next couple years. So we just giving you the preview right now. Oh Lord, Leo talking about AFN Don's Food Travel Channel. I'm dead at we finna do we may do that. So hey, look, it may be in the works, but we need y'all to be patient with us. Be patient with us because Don's gonna be the face of that.
I currently lost 14 pounds since last month. So.
You just gained it by the spoon. Never mind.
Shut up, Mike. Shut up, Mike. All right, man. Hey, if there isn't any more questions, man, we're gonna go ahead and wind it down for the night. David, we definitely appreciate you coming on, man. So let the people know where they can find you, and you already know the pleasantries behind that, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the invite. It was a great time. Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm on Twitter at dharrison82. You know what I mean? We talk football, we talk any sports.
Oh my God, that's
golf. I don't know anything about golf, but Locked On Bucs, Locked On Commanders, what we're talking about, Bucs Game Day on Sports Illustrated's Foundation and Commander Country as well. And if you're into the NBA, I cover the Wizards for Inside the Wizards as well. So anything we want to talk about, you can come talk to me about it.
Okay. Hold on. Before we leave, I gotta ask you a question. I saw something on the internet where they was talking about Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma being one of the worst 1-2 punches in the league. What's your take on that? What's your quick take on that before we get out?
So since you guys know Taylor Heineke, I can tell you this and you'll understand what I'm saying. Jordan Poole is a less likable Taylor Heineke in the NBA.
I love Jordan Poole.
Wow.
I love Jordan Poole.
That dude's a jerk off, man.
Jordan Poole is a one-hit wonder, man. Let's just keep it real.
If he gets the right team, he gonna be a baller.
No, if he ain't got Steph Curry, he ain't gonna be a goddamn baller. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about no Jordan Poole. Okay, I just don't.
Okay, but like you said, he answered my question. He said a less likable Taylor Heineke. That's all that need to be known right there.
Good gracious, that is vicious, man.
That is disrespectful, right there.
Hey man, hey we gonna continue that. Hey man, like you said, hey Dave. So do y'all do cover any of the drafts and stuff like that as well?
I mean, I covered the NFL draft. I'll be at the Senior Bowl at the end of January. I spent part of my day today kind of orchestrating those plans. I'll be at the scouting combine. I don't go to the NFL draft because, to be quite honest with you, there's no reason for me to go to the NFL draft. But I'll be at the Commander's facility for the NFL draft. Doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, we do a lot of draft stuff.
Okay. So right around draft time, like I said, we may definitely see us again, man, and we hopefully that we get a chance to do this around draft season as well. Hell, even before the season end, man. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, Heavy Hitters Live. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and hit that like button, share, subscribe. We're gonna have the Heavy Hitters Food Travel Channel for Don coming up here in the near future, so y'all be on the lookout for that. So until next time, people, we ain't here to play.
Oh no,
we here to stay.
Ooh yeah, dig it.
You ain't gotta go home,
but you got to get the hell up out of here.
Bye. Deuces.